Well, the Obama administration is working to gather international backing for a fourth round of UN sanctions against Iran over its nuclear program. While the U.S. has circulated proposals on further sanctions, it has yet to present a draft resolution, and a vote at the Security Council is thought to be months away. This comes amidst a new report by the New York Times that reveals the U.S. government has given more than $107 billion to companies which are also doing business with Iran, despite a ban on U.S. companies trading with Iran.
Leading Iranian human rights lawyer Shirin Ebadi argues the UN should focus on pressing the Iranian government to restore democracy and human rights rather than imposing economic sanctions. Shirin Ebadi was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2003. She traveled outside Iran last year on the eve of the presidential election and has not been back since. She was in New York last week, and she came to our studio for a conversation about sanctions, human rights and women's rights in Iran, and much more. I began by asking Shirin Ebadi why she had not returned to Iran since last year.
As you know, censorship exists in Iran. A number of my colleagues have been apprehended and have been imprisoned. Those that have not been apprehended have advised me to stay out of Iran. They tell me that if by staying out of Iran I can bring my voice to more people. But I'm sure that once the situation gets better in Iran, I am going to go back.
Shirin Ebadi, can you talk about what has happened to you and your family since last June? Your sister was arrested, your husband's passport was confiscated, and your Nobel Prize was also confiscated.
شوهر من چند روز دستگیر شد، گذرنامه‌اش رو گرفتن و
My husband was arrested for 3 days and his passport has been confiscated. My sister was arrested later. She was in prison for 3 weeks. She developed a heart problem as a result of the stress that she was undergoing. They took her to the hospital in prison and then released her. In reality, both of them were arrested due to my activities because neither my husband nor my sister are political people or do have any kind of political or social activities. Regarding my property, yes, all of my bank accounts have been confiscated and frozen by the government. So have my properties in Iran, my Nobel Award Peace Prize, and the medallion that goes with it, plus other prizes that I have won in the past. And the documents, other documents, family documents that we had, were all in a safe box at a bank, which was also confiscated. As a result of the objection of the government of Norway and the Nobel Peace Committee, the safe box was opened. The award and the medallion of the Nobel Award and the medallion were returned to me, but the other awards that I have won and other documents still remain in the safe box, which is under the control of the government.
What would happen to you, Shirin Ebadi, if you returned home today, if you returned to Iran?
تمام کارهایی که من انجام دادم مطابق با قوانین ایران بوده. اگر بخواهند
All of my activities are in compliance with the laws of Iran. If they want to regard the laws and observe the laws, I haven't done anything wrong. If they want to disregard the laws, then I don't know what they're going to do to me.
Do you see yourself returning anytime soon? Are you fearful you will be arrested if you return to Iran?
من هر موقع که احساس کنم در ایران مفیدتر هستم فوراً به ایران برمیگردم.
Whenever I feel that I'm more useful in Iran, I will go back. I am not scared of going to prison.
حکومت منو به زندان انداخته بود.
I have been in prison before. However, I reiterate here that they have no right to put me in prison. All of my work is compatible with the laws of Iran, and I work on human rights issues.
Shirin Ebadi, you've been working in the field of human rights for many, many years now. How would you describe the current phase of repression in Iran? How would you describe what the judiciary's been doing since the disputed elections last June? Tens of hundreds arrested, show trials for hundreds of, over 100 opposition leaders. 11 people have been sentenced to death, 2 were just executed. What's your assessment of the state of repression in Iran today?
Unfortunately, the situation of human rights has worsened in Iran after the elections. The judiciary has lost its independence. Many of those who have been convicted inform us that the judgments actually come from the Ministry of Intelligence and are only read by the judges. Yes, you're right. People have been receiving execution judgments against them, and 4 have been executed. Last night, a young student who was a student at the University of Damghan, which is a city in Iran, received an execution punishment, and his accusation, according to the official records of the government, is having thrown stones at the police. He worked in the campaign of Mousavi, and I think that the execution will be carried out against him pretty soon. After the elections, the judiciary has been playing tricky. What they have done is that they do release people, but they release them on bails, and the amount of bails are high. They're not little amounts we're talking about. Therefore, although 30,000 people have been released from prison, but they are all on bail, and this bail is sort of like a sword on top of their head to keep them quiet.
اما این وثیقه ها مثل شمشیر داموکلس بر سر مردم که حرف نزنن.
Can you describe the state of the movement today in Iran? That this stage of it, after the elections, the protests, where is it today?
به خاطر سرکوب
People do not get on the streets as many as they used to because of the form of the violence of the government and the repression that the government is putting on them. However, the form of opposition has changed.
الان میتونم بگم که یک آتش بسیار تندی است.
I can tell you that this is like a flame of fire that has been covered with dust. But if the wind blows, it's going to go up in the air.
Your assessment of what the U.S. should do right now, what do you think of sanctions against Iran? What do you think needs to be done?
من به طور کلی با تحریم اقتصادی ایران که باعث
In general, I don't agree with economic sanctions because our purpose is to make life easier for people, not make it more detrimental to them.
راحت‌تر بکنیم، نه اینکه تو دردسر بیاندازیم. بگو تا بگی. اما آمریکا میتواند
The sanctions that I agree with are